Welcome back, fellow warriors, to the stage of history. My name is Cosmo Jazz, and this is my reaction channel. We are back with SCP Explained, and we are also coming back for the 5 videos a week for the horror month that is also my birthday month, being on Halloween itself. So, if you want to give me a birthday present for early this year, you may want to hit that subscribe button and help me get to 100 followers. I want to say 100 followers. It's 100 subscribers by the end of this year, and I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you have a video that you want me to react to, please don't hesitate to hit it down in the comment section below. I would love your suggestions. I'm always open to a lot of things, no matter what they are, as long as I can get around copyright stuff. You know how it is. But without further ado, let's get into this, shall we?
Your boss's office, his name etched on the frosted glass window in the door, sitting at the end of a long hallway. He called you in, and you don't know if you'll be leaving with your job. A grimy public bathroom filled with graffiti, spiders, cracked toilet seats, and a sinister shadow in the very last stall. A surgical theater where masked doctors wait with gleaming scalpels, forceps, and bone saws, preparing for an operation that you don't know if you'll wake up from.
There's a lot to take in.
All of these have one thing in common.
They're all terrifying?
That inspire dread. After this video, you'll look back on all of them like you would your cozy childhood bedroom. A wise man once said, life has many doors. What he didn't say is that sometimes opening the wrong door can be a way of bringing that life to an untimely end, or worse. Especially when you're dealing with the kind of horrifying anomalies secured and contained by the SCP Foundation. You may think it's what's lurking inside the room that might be your biggest threat, but that's a potentially lethal assumption. Sometimes the most dangerous thing is the room itself. And that's what we're here to talk about today. 7 of the most terrifying rooms on the Foundation's database, none of which have ever been featured on this channel before. So reach out, grab the handle, and open the door.
I don't want to.
Welcome to the SCP Foundation's most terrifying rooms. All you can do is hope that, by the end, you'll actually be able to leave. We'll begin with an old classic from Series 1, SCP-002, a maleficent meatball known as the Living Room.
Now, I feel like I might know this one a little bit.
You're sitting in your living room right now while you watch this video, so you may be thinking, what's so wrong about that? But this really is a living room, and it's always on the lookout for some tasteful new furniture. From the outside, SCP-002 appears to be a huge, tumorous blob made out of living flesh. Sure, that may seem off-putting, but don't be so superficial. The inside of 002 is a different story. It may appear like your standard low-rent apartment from within, but this place has a lot of personality. There's a single window, despite there being no opening for a window from the outside. In addition to all the standard furniture, chairs, tables, a TV stand, it's actually developed a number of other wonderful amenities since being contained by the Foundation, including 2 lamps, a throw rug, a television, a radio, a beanbag chair, 3 books in an unknown language, 4 children's toys, and a small potted plant. The first thing you might notice about the room is the funny smell. Then you might take a closer look at all that lovely furniture. That's when you'll realize that every single piece of furniture in there is made out of human tissue. Wood is polished.
I have heard of this before.
Bone. Fabrics are woven from human
This is one of the very first
SCPs
I think I ever kind of ran into on the
This is what happens to anyone who enters SCP-002. And sadly, if you've gotten close enough to see this, it's already too late. We hope you enjoy the rest of your existence as a brand new armchair. But maybe you don't want to get turned into furniture inside a living room within a giant tumor.
Yeah,
maybe
let's
you've
not.
got more specific needs. You like puzzles, exercises, and most of all, solitude. You like to test your mental and physical fortitude without worrying about the distractions caused by having to deal with other human beings. If that sounds like you, then let's get your feet wet and tell you about a wonderful piece of prime real estate you can find under the sea, SCP-057. This underwater chamber is almost impossible
Now, this
to
one I
get
haven't
to
heard
without
of.
a James Cameron-style mini-submarine, but believe us, it's worth the effort. If you manage to access SCP-057 and enter its submerged chamber, then you're going to be treated to the best last challenge of your life. The door will close behind you, permanently, ensuring that wonderful privacy you so covet. Then the walls. These impenetrable monoliths of slate-covered stone will begin to move. Like a kind of high-stakes game show, you'll need to keep moving, avoiding the ever-shifting walls as the environment around you becomes more and more disorienting. There is no escape, only survival, and survival is only temporary.
Well, you get your
body
cardio
fails
in.
you, or your mind snaps under the weight of sustained mortal terror. That's when those walls will close in. The monoliths of SCP-057 will get closer and closer and closer, until your body is crushed between them, killing you with a torturously slow squeeze where nothing and nobody will ever hear your final choked screams. But it's all worth it for that glorious ocean view. Oh, look at all those adorable little fishies. But hey, maybe sea punk isn't your favorite aesthetic. Maybe you're the more industrial type. You couldn't feel more at home than among a complex network of anomalous pipes. We'll admit that's eerily specific, but it isn't half as eerie as SCP-015. If you ever find yourself opening the door to the main room of a certain
I feel like I've heard this one
undisclosed
before
warehouse, you'll feel like you've walked into an early 2000s screensaver with a decidedly gritty edge. An impossibly huge and intricate mass of pipes, vents, boilers, and other various plumbing
I've heard of this one before too.
that just keeps growing, seemingly becoming more strange and anomalous as it does so. These pipes have been made out of bone, wood, steel, pressed ash, human flesh, glass, and granite. There aren't any pipes made out of traditional pipe-making materials like lead, copper, ceramics, or PVC. And if you think what the pipes are made of is weird, the materials that travel through them are even freakier. These include oil, mercury, rats, a species of insect not yet identified, ground glass, seawater, entrails, and molten iron. And this is important to remember, because if you appear hostile to SCP-015 or enter the room carrying tools,
Why would
the
you do
pipes will
that?
begin to burst and spray you with their contents in self-defense, resulting in one of the few times in human history where you'd be incredibly lucky to only be sprayed with rats or human entrails. Much like SCP-173, the sculpture, it's important to keep this room under strict observation. It's when the pipes are left unoccupied that they start expanding and trying to grow downwards in the hopes of mixing with the sewer system below. If ever that happens, then the pipes may end up coming to a room near you. And considering that people have also reported screaming coming from inside the pipes, what comes out of them may not even be as frightening as what could be going in. But maybe you don't want a warehouse. Perhaps you just want to rent
I
a
love
small,
how this is
cozy
places
room
they
in a
want us to
one-story
live.
building over in
Like he's trying to sell us
Jersey.
these places.
Problem is, if you try to do this,
Whoops,
you
my
might
bad.
end up lodging in SCP-5256, a room that defies reality in a number of freaky ways thanks to its prior occupant, a highly unstable reality warper. The reality filters get stronger the further you go into the room, with the terminus being the room's far corner, which presents as an empty void that's impossible to even see. A damaged bloody hammer is lodged into the far wall. Metal fragments covered in human blood float near the entrance. Half-eaten bugs all over the floor.
The heck?
There's a crucifix on the wall along with medical-grade anesthetics with trace amounts of neural tissue inside. All evidence points to the reality warper having been the victim of atrocious and inhumane acts, perhaps as a way
Makes sense.
to cure it of its anomalous affliction. And to add to the creep factor, many believe its body is still in there, lurking in the unseeable corner. How do we know? Because despite the corner of the room being unseeable,
Yeah, I was just about to
people have
say.
still performed simple tactile tests by sticking their hand into the space. One D-Class reported it feeling like leathery flesh with occasional scraps of fabric, and sharp needle-like objects occasionally sticking out of its skin. But for rent this cheap, who can really complain about a body or two? But that's enough about things that are just creepy.
I mean,
let's get to dangerous.
Out of all of them,
instead.
that's probably
a room that won't just
the
freak you out with
least
some eerie anomalous sights.
dangerous to
If
you.
you get unlucky, it'll give you a horrifying death. After all, who doesn't like a little excitement? Step into SCP-4595, a small room in a woodshed behind an abandoned house near Jasper, Indiana. You'll be taken in by its rustic charm at first. It's a quiet, peaceful setting where you're alone with your thoughts.
This looks like your
When the room
typical
was
haunted
first
house.
found, it contained a small, blood-stained shovel and a skeleton of an adolescent male. But don't let that put you off.
Why am I
Don't let the
reminded of
charcoal
Charlie the
marking of
Unicorn?
word
Not Charlie the
witch written on
Unicorn.
the
The
exterior
goats.
door bother you either.
Llamas with
It all
hats.
just adds to the character of the room. Oh, there is one thing we should probably mention. There is an entity known as SCP-4595-A that lives a meter beneath the room.
Excuse me?
She's a witch-like creature, rotted and covered in wounds on her torso and face. Her mere presence will instill a sense of paranoia and dread into you, getting worse and worse the longer you're in there. But stay quiet about it. If at any point you disturb SCP-4595, all the empty spaces in your chest cavity, as well as your lungs, airways, stomach, and intestines,
Oh, shit.
will suddenly fill with live desert locusts, causing you to experience a horrible death. So be a
That's
considerate
terrible.
upstairs neighbor, or else. So, remember when we said earlier that it's not always what's inside the room that can cause you harm? Sometimes it's the thing right on the other side of the door. Look at the nearest closed door. Really focus on it. Tell
Let's
us,
not.
how can you be so sure there's not something on the other side? Can you hear its heavy, wheezing breaths? It's not a home invader. It's something even worse. SCP-003.
Good luck sleeping
and it
tonight.
can make any room, anywhere, an absolute nightmare for you. Keep an eye on that door while we explain. SCP-003 is a tall, emaciated creature with dark skin and no face. Just a giant mouth twisted into a fixed grimace of pain with unnaturally long teeth. Nobody has ever seen its full body, but everyone afflicted with its anomalous effects somehow has an innate knowledge of exactly what they're dealing with. The amount of time that 303 spends behind the door seems to be random, but whenever it appears, people will be afflicted with such a level of raw, paralytic terror that they physically cannot bear to open the door while it's still there.
Fuck that.
This is one thing if it's hiding inside a broom closet, but if you're trapped in a room with only one exit, and 303 manifests behind it, you are in real trouble. As the number of people who have died of dehydration and starvation in totally normal rooms while boxed in by 303 have found out, when you're dealing with this monster, any room can be a nightmare. But while 303 is no doubt scary, it's not quite as mind-melting as SCP-970, the final anomalous room on this list.
That one
Much
other
like
one is kind of
303, it
a
involves
jerk.
doors, and rather than being fixed to a single location, it can appear in theoretically any room. Known as the recursive room, stepping through this door will lead to a copy of the room you were just inside. A little trippy, but not exactly pure nightmare fuel. But much like how a photocopier will slowly create distortions if the same image is copied repeatedly, the more rooms in the recursive room sequence that one cycles through, the more distorted each one gets. Eventually, the rooms will begin to display visuals straight out of your worst nightmares. Foundation researchers who sent a drone through a 6-hour sequence of recursive rooms ended up being discharged to undergo psychiatric treatment after seeing their own mutilated corpses in the rooms. A cruel trick? Or a deadly phenomenon of things to come in a darker possible future? Either way,
that's
these
possible.
unfortunate researchers couldn't get their experience in the recursive room out of their heads. But we're sure you'll have a more pleasant time. There you have it, folks. Some of the most terrifying rooms that the SCP
I'm very
Foundation
interested in
is
the
aware
last
of.
one. Like, how does
Let us
that
know
one
which
work?
one was your favorite down in the comments. And of course, be careful. If these are the ones the Foundation has in containment, imagine the ones that are still out there, waiting to be discovered. For all you know, it could only be one door away. Now go check out SCP-2317, The Devourer of Worlds, A Door to Another World, and SCP-5049, The Skin Salesman, Demon Dan's Discount Homunculus Depot for more anomalous
one's crazy.
doors that should never be opened.
That other one sounds crazy as hell. But yeah, I'm very interested in that last one, how like it keeps going and it kind of makes you kind of crazy, I guess. It's kind of like that one SCP that the number escapes me right now. But the further you go down the stairs, the crazier things get. They had like a whole game around it. It was literally just stairs. But now it's just like a house almost, the same room. That the more you go, the more destroyed things are. That's like, I want to know the mechanics kind of around that. Like, is it just the way it's said, or is there more to it? Because they clearly said that there was some kind of entity, I think, in there or something. So, very interesting. Some of those I did hear about because of like random things I looked up online about SCPs and stuff. So not all of that was new to me, but like some of those other ones that were new to me, like, yikes. Although there were a couple, like that one room where the warper dude, like that one wasn't so bad. Yes, it was creepy, don't get me wrong, but it didn't seem like it was so bad compared to everything else, unless I missed something, in which case please feel free to put it down in the comment section below, because like out of all of them, at least you could survive that one. And you might be thinking, well, the same thing could be said about the pipes. But like when you really think about it, like the last thing it said was that there was screaming and stuff inside the pipes. Plus, you never wanted to actually get into the sewer, so that's a whole nother problem in itself that you would have to deal with the entire time. Versus that other room I was telling you about with the warper. You know, that was very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to more of this. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you do in any of these situations, and do you think you would make it throughout any of these rooms? I don't think you would. I myself would make it out in most of these rooms if I didn't have the knowledge that I would have here. So yeah, especially that one where the guy apparently is in like the room outside. He's just kind of there, because I'm guessing it gives you just nothing but dread to the point that you can't even move your hand into the door. Like you can't just move it or whatever. It just makes you too much dread, from my understanding. Granted, if it doesn't, then yeah, I'm gonna be through that door and hoping for the best. Even though I might get murdered, I'd rather not die of hydration and stuff, because that would be way worse. But yeah. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below. And as always, ask yourself this one question: does your soul still burn? Bye guys. Have a blessed day. I don't really give a fuck.